Welcome to WiredToHunt's Whitetail How-Tos, where we provide a step-by-step tutorial for one important deer hunting task.
Today I'm going to talk about hunting around roadways where the deer are probably going to be visible at certain points of their day or certain points of the year. Anyone who's hunted pressured deer, you know that deer don't like to get watched. They don't like it when you sit there and stop the truck and look at them, especially big bucks. And so I started learning how important it was for deer to just stay invisible to those people traveling the roads. When this really hit me over the head, I was following my dogs around on a pheasant hunt. I kept jumping deer out of these little draws, and as you're doing those kind of pheasant hunts, you tend to just fall in line with deer trails too, because they're easier to walk. So the dogs go work the cover and you're on that nice little path to walk. And I realized the more I walked those trails, they were in the places where you just weren't visible from the roads. And in those areas, you've got that typical section by section roadway where you might be able to stand on one side of that section and look across to the other. But those deer, even in there, have figured out that there might be a drop off of a couple feet and a little drainage or something that just keeps them from not getting spotted. If you imagine a nice soybean field or an alfalfa field in the summer, and it's on a gravel road and people drive by there in the evening to look at deer, if that field has one little dog leg in the back or one corner that breaks down a little bit in elevation, that's probably where your bachelor group's gonna be. That's not an accident. They don't wanna sit there and have people listening to country music glassing them. They don't like that. So they find those little places where they don't get bothered. And I'm standing in one of these right now. This is on a farm that I got permission to hunt last year, and it never really dawned on me how important this little spot would be. But I've got this country road up here, and this little area down here, just below this road, is covered in rubs. So what it tells me a couple things is there were deer staging here, and because I can look at the direction of the rubs coming off of the open fields, and I can stand down here in this draw and see rubs coming up, I know in the evenings the bucks probably came up here, and this is the last spot they can stay before they would have to go expose themselves to the road. And then these rubs facing downhill here, you know, most likely those bucks were up there feeding, chasing around. Starts to get a little bit light out in the morning. They peel down here to this first layer where they're not visible anymore. They might not be ready to march right off to bed yet, but they don't want to be around there when that morning traffic starts up. And so they make some rubs and they mill around here and they don't get bothered. Well, now I know that the deer don't like to get spotted from the road. What do I do about it? How do I hunt these spots? These are so individually variable that you got to figure in wind, you got to figure out access like you would with any spot. You got to learn to think like a deer. If I didn't want to get spotted from the road, but I had to live out here, what would I do? You start to see those concentrations of deer in those spots, those concentrations of signs. You find good places to run cameras to test out your theory a little bit. And you got to get over the fact that you might be hunting spots that feel kind of weird. And you can find these scenarios just about anywhere you hunt. I always used to look at roadways like I wanted to get as far away as possible, because I don't want to be visible to the people. I don't want to be close to where people can access it. But when you start digging into these kind of spots, you realize those deer don't care about that road nearly as much as you do. They just figured out a way to work around it. So a lot of this is just a mentality thing. We always think we got to go as far in as we can and hunt so far away from all these access points and stuff. But sometimes you really don't. You just got to play this like the deer do, and it's much closer to the road and kind of goes against traditional hunting advice, especially public land hunting advice. But you got to get yourself into that mindset and go, I don't care where it is, but if they find a spot and they show me they like it here because it's close to the roadway, then I know it's good enough to hunt. And I got to go through all those steps of the wind direction and the access to figure out how to use it, but I'm going to use it, and that's an important part. Those mature bucks, they're secretive for a reason. They don't want you to know they're there. And they have structured their entire lives for daylight movement where they don't have to show themselves to you. What does that dude do when the sun's out? A lot of times it's in reaction to their visibility from the roads. This can play into your hunting situation almost no matter where you hunt. And it's an important thing to recognize if you want to kill big bucks on pressured ground. If you want more whitetail hunting advice, please listen to the Wired to Hunt podcast and the Wired to Hunt Foundation's podcast, and we'll give you everything you needed to hear about deer.